Welcome to Open for Business, the Gallatin Valley's only local business and consumer talk show featuring Tom Egelhoff, the Man Entrepreneur magazine radio called the leading authority in the United States for doing business in small town. Here he is, speaker, author, small business consultant, and Mrs. Egelhoff's favorite son, Tom Egelhoff.
All right, welcome everyone. Open for Business. We air every Saturday live from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mountain Time on AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman, 1340 KPRK in Livingston, Montana. If you'd like to be a part of the big broadcast, go to KMMSAM.com and click Listen Live. The call-in number during the show, 406-522-TALK, 406-522-8255. I'm here, you're here. Let's get the show on the road.
Welcome back, everyone. 25 minutes before the top of the hour. It is Saturday, October 22nd. I want to welcome you to the podcast portion of Open for Business. Each week I share some tips and tricks I've learned over the years about advertising, marketing, promotion, and building strong, successful businesses. I do these Open for Business podcasts live every Saturday between 11:30 and noon Mountain Time from the studios of AM 1450 KMMS in Bozeman and 1340 KPRK in Livingston, Montana. And of course, we stream worldwide on the net at KMMSAM.com. If you missed any of my previous podcasts, you'll find them all on my YouTube channel. While you're there, why not subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you'll never miss another weekly podcast. You'll also find my podcasts on my website at smalltownmarketing.com. That's smalltownmarketing.com. Go about halfway down the homepage on the left side, and you'll find a link to the podcast page and YouTube page, so you can catch up on any of my podcasts that you might have missed. Today's topic, I want to talk about how to buy radio advertising time. When it comes to small town advertising, one of the most effective methods is local radio. Many small towns don't have newspapers or TV stations, but many have radio stations. And local residents listen to those hometown stations and react to the advertising presented on them. The good news is that most small town stations are a bargain when it comes to the cost of buying radio advertising versus larger cities. And like most things we talk about here, small town radio advertising must be done differently than in large cities. In order for any advertising medium to be successful, it must follow basic advertising and marketing guidelines. It must be the right message, presented to the right people, your target market, at the right time. And of course, the second rule, your advertising must be an investment. It cannot be an expense. It must produce more business income than it costs. Otherwise, why do it? Major advantages of radio advertising, well, there are several. Major advantage of radio is it's everywhere. It's in our cars, bathrooms, bedrooms, kitchen, and the workplace. Try to find a jogger without a radio and earbuds. No other medium reaches so many people in so many different places. Here are some advantages radio offers that you may be able to adapt to your business. First, it's efficient. You can monitor the efficiency of your ad dollars and see the results of your efforts. Customers will tell you they heard you on the radio. It's flexible. You can change your message and time schedule for ads with relative ease, and it has low production costs. Unlike TV or print ads, the cost of producing a radio spot is much less. Its listeners are loyal. If you have the right target market listening to your station choice, they're more likely to stay with that station. Few people listen to more than 2 or 3 radio stations. In small towns, it may just be 1. It can be everywhere. It can sell you a product in the shower. What other medium could do that? Each day, radio reaches 77% of America. Every age bracket registers in the high 90s as weekly listeners. Keep in mind that your local station's numbers may vary depending on the size of your town. There are some things to think about when buying small-town radio advertising time. If I were advising you on buying time in LA or New York, one of the first things I might ask you to consider is something called drive time. Most large cities have people commuting to work by car or public transportation, and many carry radios with them to pass the time while stuck in traffic. For advertising, this is truly a captive audience. But small towns rarely have traffic jams because there's no traffic to speak of, unless you want to call 4 or 5 cars lined up at a stop sign a traffic jam. Chances are in a small town, you have a small retail area and a large rural area of farmers and ranchers. Guess what? Farmers and ranchers don't commute to work. When they wake up, they're there. Let's go back to drive time for a second. Drive time is usually considered 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning. Many areas also consider 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. as drive time. Small town people may not be in their cars during those hours, but it doesn't mean they're not listening. Many are reading the morning paper and listening to the radio at the same time before the long 10-minute commute or walk to work. On the other hand, the drive time for farmers or ranchers may be as early as 4 a.m. Combining the two drives, we suddenly have a 4-hour block of time to reach both townies and farmers. That's a large block of time to place commercials. So how do you know how many ad spots to purchase? How many spots should I buy? Most mistakes in radio advertising are buying too few spots and or playing them at the wrong time. This often happens because the media salesperson has failed to understand your business and is placing your ads on the wrong station or format at the wrong time. To some business people, it comes down to a matter of cost. How can I get the most spots for the least amount of money? Well, that's flawed thinking. Cost shouldn't even be a consideration. Why? Because we expect our advertising to pay for itself. Remember, it's an investment, not an expense. One ad rarely sparks a buying decision. Usually, customers must be exposed to several ads over a period of time, unless your customer has an immediate need and they just happen to hear the commercial at the right time. Advertising builds customers over periods of time. Radio should not be purchased in spots, instead, by blocks of time. Your commercial played several times over a short period of time is better than your commercial played fewer times over a long period of time. Now, the Small Business Administration has radio advertising guidelines, and I agree with those up to a point. The SBA suggests the following. Buy a block of 42 commercials. These would be played on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 spots between 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., and 4 spots between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. for 2 weeks. That's 7 spots per day times 6 days, 42 spots. This is excellent advice for the larger city, and I fully agree. The only area that I would advise you to make adjustments is if your target market is the rural community or farmers or ranchers. If you're a feed store or an implement company, farmers are in different places at different times of the year. During planting season, they're on the tractor from dusk to dawn and many times even longer, and the radio is their only companion. Same with harvesting season. You may want to vary your ad times to accommodate this group if they're your target market. Consider using some of your spots to sponsor daily agriculture updates if your station has one. Concentrated advertising gives you one other advantage. It makes your business appear larger than it really is. Now, there's a perception among customers that companies that do a lot of advertising are successful or they couldn't afford to advertise. And I can hear what you're saying next. Companies that do a lot of advertising are also overpriced to pay for that advertising. I won't deny that some of that thinking is true, but I think if you ask people is Walmart overpriced, most would say no. High-priced talk comes more from word of mouth than a perception of the cost of advertising. I also feel that in rural areas, people listen to the radio more in the morning and during the day than they do at night. Most of us are TV people in the evening and radio people in the morning. Chances are you wake up to a clock radio rather than a TV on a timer. Now, what if my budget is too small? I can't afford 42 spots. Well, many small businesses don't have a large advertising budget. For many, it takes every cent just to purchase inventory and meet the payroll. The real purpose of advertising is not just to spend money, but to grow your business. If this is the case, then you could use that to some advantage. The key is be consistent. Most of us listen to the radio at the same times each day. If you can only afford 1 spot per day, play it at the same time on the same day of the week. At least you'll be reaching the same customers who listen during that time. As your business grows, try and add more spots. Some stations will work with new customers by offering more spots than you pay for. As for new advertiser specials that might be available. Also, see if you can be placed at the end of public service announcements, also known as PSAs. For example, this message brought to you as a public service by Joe's Shoes, open daily in downtown Smithville. The production costs of PSAs are donated to the PSA by the station. There should be no production cost for adding a tagline to your business. This would give you one more inexpensive exposure during the broadcast day and may actually show up during high rating hours, and it shows potential customers your community involvement. Some final thoughts to keep in mind when buying radio time. 1, make sure you've identified your target market and you're advertising to the right people. If you're advertising to the wrong people, you're wasting your money. Just because you like a particular radio station doesn't mean your target market does. You may love rock and roll and they're listening to classical. Ask for deals and guarantees. Most stations aren't going to guarantee that your advertising may work, but they may offer you additional free spots if you get a small response from your additional ad package. It's certainly worth asking for. Radio can be a great medium and can do wonders for your business. If you've been considering it, but were afraid to commit the money to do it, now's the time to go for it. In most cases, I think you'll find it will pay off for you and your business. And that's the podcast. If you missed any of my previous podcasts, you'll find them all on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel or on my website at smalltownmarketing.com. That's smalltownmarketing.com. Just go about halfway down the homepage on the left side, and you'll find a link to the podcast page so you can catch up on any of my podcasts that you might have missed. So tune in each Saturday, and let's build successful businesses together.